Hi everyone, it's Alia or Cake Legend, and in today's video we're going to be making these really cute, really tiny Florentine ring cookies. They have a caramel almond center with a shortbread ring. And they're actually quite simple to make. To start, we're going to make the shortbread base. Measure out 132 grams of room temperature butter into your mixing bowl. The measurements will also be listed in the description box below, and you can use salted or unsalted butter, it's your choice. Next, we're going to add 66 grams of icing sugar, and you can also add a pinch of lemon zest if you'd like. Now we're just going to mix this on a low speed until well combined. We don't want to do a high speed because we don't want to incorporate any air into the mixture. Just be sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl as necessary to make sure everything gets well mixed. Next, we're going to add 17 grams of egg yolk, which is basically just one egg yolk. We're going to put that back on the mixer and again mix on the low speed just until it's combined. Then it's time to add the flour. We're going to do 165 grams of all-purpose flour. Make sure it's sifted before you put it into the bowl. And then we're going to put it back on the mixer with our paddle attachment. While this is mixing, don't walk away because we only want to mix until the flour's just incorporated. If we mix any longer, it will develop too much gluten. And again, make sure you're mixing on a low speed because we don't want to incorporate any air. Incorporating air will cause the shortbread to spread. Now, once we have the dough formed, we can take it back to our counter space and dump it out. You just want to knead it all together until it's in like a little block or a log, and then we're going to wrap it up and put it in the fridge to chill for a couple hours or overnight. Once the dough is chilled and ready to be rolled out, we're going to grab some baking pans lined with parchment paper, our little circle cutters, a rolling pin, and some dusting flour. For the cutters, you're going to need two sizes. You're going to need the bigger one to be 4.5 centimeters in diameter, and the smaller one 2.5 centimeters in diameter. When you roll out your pastry dough, don't use an excessive amount of dusting flour. Only use as much as you need so that the dough doesn't stick to the counter. We're going to roll out the dough until it's about 3 millimeters thick, and then we're going to use our larger cutter to cut out all the circles, and we're going to use the smaller cutter to cut out all the centers, so that you're left with these little rings. And when you re-roll the scraps, you always want to roll it with some fresh dough because more movement creates more gluten, which toughens the pastry. So rolling your scraps with fresh dough helps to keep the quality. You also always want to roll out the dough when it's cold. If it starts warming up, put it back into the fridge and wait a bit before re-rolling because it's harder to handle when the dough is not cold. It's just going to get sticky and hard to work with, and you're going to use more dusting flour, which then is going to create more gluten and again make your cookies tougher. So just take breaks, let your dough chill, and keep rolling until you have 6 dozen rings. This recipe yields 72 cookies. Now that we have our rings all rolled out, it's time to move on to that caramel almond center. We're gonna take 30 grams of sliced almonds and just chop them up a little bit finer. Since the little cutout center of our cookies is so tiny, you really wanna make sure that these almonds are small. Now in a small pot, we're gonna measure out 25 grams of butter, doesn't matter the temperature because it's going over the heat anyways, and 30 grams of yellow or brown sugar, as well as 30 grams of glucose. Glucose is a clear and very sticky type of sugar that's going to help prevent crystallization while we're making our caramel. Once we have everything measured out, we're going to bring it to the stove, cook it on like a medium heat, and stir everything together until it boils. Once it's all combined and boiling, we're going to turn off the heat, add the almonds, and then leave it to cool for just a couple minutes. This cooks very fast because it's such a small amount. So make sure you don't walk away from the pot because it will burn. This is what the caramel should look like when it's all done. It's gonna be super hot, so just leave it to cool for a couple minutes. Then we're gonna go back to our cookies and just start dividing up that caramel into the centers of each one. So I use the spatula to kind of break off a little piece, and when it's cool enough to touch, then I'll use my hands to quickly just place it into the center. It's the fastest and easiest way. You can try scooping it with a spoon, but be warned, it will just stick to your spoon. So using a rubber spatula is the easiest. Try to work fast as well because the caramel will start to harden up. And if it does and it becomes too firm to break apart, you can just heat it up again for less than a minute, just until it's at a workable consistency again. Here we have all our cookies unbaked, and here we have them baked. They bake at 190 degrees Celsius for between 5 and 8 minutes, just until they're golden brown on the edges. And that's it. Now they're done. You can leave them as is, or you could dip them in chocolate, pipe little chocolate lines on top, whatever you'd like. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!